So I was talking to a friend the other day, and he mentioned that one person he was seeing was willing to compromise herself in order to be with him. And then he goes and says that in that line of things, it happens to be women who also say that they do the healing work. I am not going to lie, relationships are a lifetime thing, and I felt triggered. I felt extremely triggered in that moment when he said that, and I was like, are you talking to me? What? And it hit in a different light. Why? And I'll say this. They say, and I'm classifying they, people, social media, society, the whole enchilada, a group of people and masses that has become the typical story that men know when it is the one, right? Now, I'm going to say this too, that women do too. The only issue when it comes to women is that we, particularly at a certain age in society, have this story about our eggs, about being a young mom, about am I ever going to get married? Am I ever going to be chosen? And then it leads into this aspect that if you are waiting to be chosen, but you have not chosen yourself, you are constantly in a wait of being chosen. Do you understand that energy is pulling through, right? So now when you find yourself, and I have too, and that's why I was like, I felt extremely triggered that you are willing to compromise yourself in order to have that person stay in your life. And all of this time, by doing exactly that, you are not choosing yourself. Let that settle in. What I've been discovering about myself lately, a lot of things. But one of the things when it comes to relationships and a man, I never knew that I found discipline so attractive. I like a man who's disciplined is a man who's attentive. A man who's attentive is a man who's present. Oh, so it helps me go into life questioning myself regarding my own discipline, cultivating the discipline within myself so that as a magnet, I'm attracting what's already from within. Ooh, discipline is one of the most attractive things. Like when you can walk into a space and you can see someone like their body, like they take care of their body, or you see the way in which they dress, the way in which they walk, the pace with which they take in life is just slow because they're not in a rush. Their sense of grooming, their lifestyle, discipline is so attractive. And it's a discipline to know what you want first. And within knowing what you want, you get to sift and sort quickly. Like I will share an example, and I'm getting like really personal. I don't know if this is where all this is trying to go, but we're just gonna flow with it here and surrender to the flow with it. I had recently met a man, and I can tell this man is disciplined in certain areas, but in certain areas, for me, not the discipline that is attractive for me, right? And part of that discipline that's not attractive is when a man always needs to like submit to his sexual urges and can't control them. It's I found it's like a deeply unattractive thing. So when you see someone physically, you're seeing a lot of attributes that are actually disciplined because that's attractive. You're seeing their body, you're seeing their skin, you know. You also in relation when you get a little bit closer, smelling their breath to see hygiene, you know, all of that stuff. And then armpits, what sort of like cologne or essential oils do they use? You know, all of that I didn't really realize is such detailed expression of deep attraction, at least for me. Um, so where was I going with this one in particular? Yeah, so we when we dance, so one of the things I also do is dancing. Tarashinya. I hope I'm saying it right. Tarashinya. Tarashinya. Angolan people are beautiful. Just human beings are beautiful. And the dance is just love. You know, like it's my kind of love language. So when we dance is chemistry, and he approaches me wanting to explore deeper chemistry. But now I'm like, okay, so wait, what are you looking for? So we have the Portuguese and then the other dialects that are in Angola, and then English translation. So I'm trying to understand, you want me, but like how do you want me? Like I want to understand, because if what I want is not in line with what you want, then we shouldn't even be pursuing this thing any further. You know what I mean? Because already we in the beginning we already want different things. But this goes back to what I said about compromising ourselves. He goes to me, I want to explore your, like obviously now it's in this like Portuguese like tone, like come on, like obviously I'm gonna be like ooh, mate, ooh. You know, there was a little part of me that was like, should I, should I? And I was like, no, 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 we're not doing this. I know what I want. And basically at the end of it, it was very clear that he was looking for he was looking for short term gratification, and I am looking for the long term to have my partner in crime. But then he was like, oh, I didn't know that's what you want. And then he was like, that's also what I want. But I was like, ooh, this is not crossing. So I gave it a couple of days to just explore. And I said, one of my things in this part of this exploration is I'm not willing to do anything physical with you at all. That was my boundaries. I'm not, because I said very clearly that I'm not willing to be confused by making this decision, because I'm very serious about what I want. And then that Monday, he connects to me and we talk. And it's just, it's very, it's almost like I have to prove myself. And I'm like, what am I trying to prove here? What is he trying to prove here? And I'm like, that's not the energy I want to reside in with someone that I want to share my life with. I don't want to feel like I need to prove myself, because the fact that you've already chosen me and I've chosen you and said, yes, yes, right, on both ends, it's like, I have that certainty that we've explored different things that didn't work for us. And because here we are now, this is what works, right? Anyways, So then that whole week up until the Friday where we're gonna go dance, we don't talk. And if we did, it was probably like a message or two, and then that was it. And I didn't feel any urge whatsoever to connect. Because I'm like, what are we actually going to talk about? It because we'd already met for a date, and then I was just like, you know what, I gotta be honest, I gotta cut this early. And I just said, look, I've been exploring just for this week and seeing how I feel. And within how I feel, there's definitely no romantic chemistry between us. It's not there. There's chemistry on the dance floor, and there's connection in talking, like we can talk as human to human, person to person, but where our chemistry is on the dance floor. And it doesn't have to go beyond here and now. This is it. Like, this is it for us, you know? And can we enjoy this it without having to make it something else than what it's not? Because the chemistry that we experience on the dance floor is not going to be the experience we have. I can already tell just by our conversation, just by the body language. It's just not going to happen. And I found myself like almost willing to compromise. And I was like, oh my goodness. I was going to put myself in a situation that I was going to be so mad knowing what I know. And it's like women know too. We just stay around because of the language we've also understood around love. And it's changing that narrative. We have to change that narrative. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes I'm sure you found yourself in an expression of a relationship where you say, I always do this, I always have to, blah blah blah, and then it goes into the story about men that women have about men, and then men have about men, and then men have about women, and vice, and women have about women. Like, we have these stories that we're constantly playing out. And it's like, what if we change that narrative by simply being honest with, this is who I am? Because you have to know who you are, and you can't expect to know yourself through another person, specifically if you are trying to make them do the work you're not willing to show up doing, because you think of all these other things, time, you think no one's going to ever love you, whatever the story is, that, a lot of it in society, we have this thing that we are running out of time. And it's like, where are you going? Do you even know where you're going in the first place? First and foremost, we must know where you're going. We must establish that. And then secondly, we need to find out, who are we going with? Who are the people that would be right in order to help us shift and move forward with? So, yeah, just it's a question and reflection to no longer compromise ourselves, and to also stop blaming men, because they also have their stories. That's another one to talk about in another time. Um, but it's nice to have these discussions and to tell the truth, to actually start telling the truth, to say, what is the story that is continuing, this pattern that is continuing in your life that you find yourself in? Because this is no longer a story about men or women, or women and men and whatever. This is a story about you. And it's saying, what story are you trying to tell in your life? What story are you trying to tell? By looking at your patterns, by mastering yourself, by embodying that which you actually want, so that you can attract it, because you're an electric being. You're full of electricity, and you're constantly attracting. So many notes. And the reason why I've also just done this is because I've been thinking, there's definitely a part that of me that needs to share, and I've been trying to honor what feels best, what's the best way for me to show up online, that I can be the most authentic version of myself, still share my truth, but you don't have to know like deep stories and like know every single detail. but you can definitely know the examples. I don't mind sharing that because there's so many lessons to learn from the examples and people's stories and what people have shared with me, and and how I have taken that to have deeper resonance and embodiment within my being, so that I'm constantly getting the evidence that I am looking for who I am. Yeah, hit me up with whatever resonated with you, share. And I just want to share the wisdom that comes through from infinite source, from God, from my life experience. I've only been living for 33 years, but within those 33 years, I've lived an amazing life, and I live an amazing life. So I want to be able to share those nuggets I've learned, and it's an opportunity for me too to see my growth, and to one day when I'm blessed with kids, they can get to see my advice too. You know, so that when I am almost like stepping into the role my parents stepped into me, and I didn't need them to at that particular time, I can reference this information back, and be able to share a lot more deeper conversations with my family, really. So, love and light, take what resonates all the time, always test this information, and yeah, enjoy living your life.